Okay, you guys, you know what time it is. It's time to talk some NHL Round 1 Series predictions. I'm Jo of SportsGrid. Make sure you stay tuned here for all of your NHL playoff bets. Now, we're going to look at the matchup today between the St. Louis Blues and the Winnipeg Jets. This series will kick off on Saturday. The St. Louis Blues did finish the season with 96 points, getting that last wildcard spot in the Western Conference, while the Winnipeg Jets won the President's Trophy. Yes, they had 116 points on the season. When we look at these two teams, when they faced each other in the regular season, Winnipeg did hold that advantage going 3-1. Now, this is one of those matchups that's going to feature elite goaltending. Jordan Binnington, while he hasn't had the most sound numbers on the season, has been so strong when you put him in situations that he needs to show up. I'm expecting a lot out of Jordan Binnington, and the St. Louis Blues have the opportunity of pulling off the upset in this series if Binnington can match what we see out of Hellebuyck. And talking about Connor Hellebuyck, you look at Connor Hellebuyck in the regular season, phenomenal numbers. 62 starts, playing 63 games with a .925 save percentage, a 2 goals against average. The Winnipeg Jets are built on their defense as well. So looking at this series, it should be a lower scoring one. When we look, though, at Connor Hellebuyck in the postseason, this is where we've seen his struggles over his career. So Connor Hellebuyck really needs to rewrite that narrative out there and come out nice and strong in this series versus the St. Louis Blues, because Hellebuyck versus Binnington, you guys, this is going to be the goaltending duel that we all want to see out there on the ice. When we look here at the Winnipeg Jets and their advantages over the St. Louis Blues, they definitely have those star forwards that are so impactful out there for them. And then they have the defense. So I do think we see a Winnipeg Jets team with an absolute edge with the forwards, with the defense over the St. Louis Blues. But the St. Louis Blues team does have depth. They also have that grittiness out there on the ice. It's going to be a question mark if Dylan Holloway will be in the lineup, as he did sustain injury, and hopefully he is out there for the St. Louis Blues, because that depth we need. Now, Robert Thomas, definitely one of the most underrated centers out there on the ice, coming in here for the St. Louis Blues. You look at him on the season, 81 points on the season, 25 points, 4 goals, and 21 assists over his last 12 games out there of that regular season. So, you know, Robert Thomas rolling in so hot has to be impactful here for the St. Louis Blues. But again, it should be hard for goals to come in this series between these two. When we look at the Winnipeg Jets, you've got Kyle Connor here. Kyle Connor with 28 power play points on the season, leading this team with power play points and points overall with 97. You've also got Mark Scheifele. He was able to rack up 87 points in the regular season. Josh Morrissey, Gabriel Vilardi. You've got so many strong playmakers here for Winnipeg. Again, when we turn to the St. Louis Blues, there's no denying. I talked about Robert Thomas, underrated center here. You've got Jordan Kyrou, and Braden Shen. Braden Shen, another playmaker I really like, as well as Jake Neighbors, adding that depth to this team. I'm not sure, though, that we look at the offense here of the St. Louis Blues, and I mentioned those playmakers. Can this offense match the offense of the Winnipeg Jets? I just don't think they're going to be able to keep up with the Winnipeg Jets. And I think this is going to come down to Winnipeg being able to take this series. Now, the problem with taking Winnipeg to take the series is it's just so juicy. The books almost have it as a $2 favorite for them to take the series as a whole. So we have to find another way to bet it. Now, I could see a storyline with how hot the St. Louis Blues are coming into this to get that upset win in game 1, but then Winnipeg responding back. If you take the St. Louis Blues to win game 1, but the Winnipeg Jets to take the series, it's coming in at plus 360. And I do think we're in for that style of game in the first one out there, as the St. Louis Blues roll with that momentum and hit a shaky Connor Hellebuyck in game 1, knowing his struggles in the postseason, that being a little bit in his head before he settles down for game 2, 3, 4, and 5 out there on the ice. And yes, I do think the Winnipeg Jets, if they lose game 1, can answer back and win 4 straight and take this series in 5 games. So I'm looking here for the Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues, the under 5.5 in this series coming in at plus 136. I think what the St. Louis Blues have done, I love this team, and it does pain me to say I got to take the Winnipeg Jets to win this in 5. But I do think that is where the best opportunity for the Winnipeg Jets to get this done is I'll take the Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues series under 5.5 at plus 136. I will take the St. Louis Blues to win game 1 and the Winnipeg Jets to take the series at plus 360. And then I would take the series bet here, which ends up being the same thing. If you take the Winnipeg Jets on that series bet laying 1.5, it's coming in at minus 105. So that's probably a stronger way than taking the Blues to win and the Winnipeg Jets to cover that spread of 1.5. It means they have to win this in 5 at minus 105. But I do think it has every opportunity of cashing the best, because then we could see Winnipeg win game 1, St. Louis answer back in game 2, and then Winnipeg win the next 3 games. So you're looking at different combinations of it. I do think St. Louis picks up 1 win. I'm not calling for the sweep here by the Winnipeg Jets, but I think the Jets win it in 5 games. So you guys, that is the breakdown between the St. Louis Blues and the Winnipeg Jets. Make sure you do stay tuned to SportsGrid for all of my NHL predictions.